Okay, let's see. What's a new little antidote that I can tell you today? Something, who knows, inspiring, maybe not. But I was thinking about it and I thought, maybe I would tell you the story of when my parents, well, I was raised Mormon, so my mom and dad, my mother's probably most specifically, had decided that we were not going to have TV in the house. And I don't think my father completely agreed, because I think he got a TV and he put it down in the storage room. It was a black and white TV. Put it down in the storage room and hid it down there so that the children, us, would not find the TV. And apparently, unbeknownst to, now I'm the fifth of 8 children, so I have 3 older brothers and 1 older sister, and then I have 3 younger sisters. And so unbeknownst to the younger siblings, us, the older siblings, specifically the 2 older brothers, were sneaking into the storeroom and they were plugging that black and white TV in, and they were secretly watching TV because, see, it was restricted. And we were younger, so we didn't really know those shenanigans that were going on, right? Well, eventually my parents, I guess, came to an agreement, because I think it was my mother who was against the TV, not my dad. But I think they came to an agreement somehow where they would move that black and white TV up into the living room. And we had a pretty decent sized house. So we actually had 2 living rooms, one upstairs and one downstairs. But the black and white TV got moved up into the living room. And one day, my mother told us, now we were not allowed to turn that TV on unless, we were allowed to. But one day my mom told us she was going to town. And while she was gone, she wanted us to do chores. And she wanted us to, my mother was the queen of always writing a chore list every day, without fail. Even when we became adults and got married, my mother, when we came home to visit, would have her chore list ready for all the things that she needed done and help with. And so my mom had written a chore list and she left to go grocery shopping that day. But see, we were so deprived of this new idea of television, that we were hungry. We wanted to see what was on that television, and we were just so hungry to see. So while my mom was gone, we turned the TV on and we gathered around. We were so excited to be able to watch the TV. I don't even know what program was on, but I do know it was in black and white. So sometime in the 1970s. Anyway, we gathered around and we were so intrigued by the TV and what was on the TV that we were mesmerized by it. And the time slipped away. And before we knew it, we heard our mother coming through the door. And we jumped up and we started running around the house to hurry and start cleaning and doing the chores that she wanted us to do, but it was too late. My mother was so enraged that we had disobeyed her and that we had watched the TV without permission, that she stormed in the living room and she ripped that black and white TV out of the wall. And I think she destroyed the cord that was plugged into I think she just ripped that whole thing out. So it was destroyed and the TV went away. We were no longer allowed to watch TV, which was very sad. So eventually my mom's parents, they got older and eventually they needed to move in with us. And so I was probably 11 or 12 years old when my grandparents came to live with us. And my mother put them in separate bedrooms because they were now in their 80s and they didn't sleep together anymore. So my grandpa went down in the basement and had his own bed down there, and my grandma was upstairs in a bedroom upstairs. Anyway, before my grandparents moved in, my mom let us know that because my grandpa loved to watch Gunsmoke and other programs when he was in his own home, that now when my grandparents moved in, we were going to be allowed 3 programs. We were going to be allowed to watch TV, but only 3 programs. You know what they were? Lawrence Welk, Emergency, if you ever knew what Emergency was. All I remember is the episode where the fat lady got stuck in the dog door and the fire engine had to come and rescue her. That's the only episode I remember. But the other program was Little House on the Prairie. So we were allowed to watch TV, but only those 3 programs. Anyway, as time ticked on further, eventually my mom got a TV, like a bigger TV in the living room. And now my mom had become a little addicted to watching the TV. And so she started to allow us to have more access to the TV. It was now going to be color TV. And pretty soon we were allowed to watch Walt Disney on Sundays, because every Sunday Walt Disney would have a movie that they would play on Sundays. And so we were allowed now to watch a Walt Disney movie on Sunday, if you can believe it. Wow. That's like seriously breaking the Sabbath. But we were allowed that. But I remember one of my older brothers, and it used to piss me off, because he would sneak over to the neighbors who always had TV. And he would secretly sneak over there and watch James Bond all the time. And we weren't allowed to do that, but he wouldn't tell my mom what he was doing. He would just sneak over there and he would get to sit and watch James Bond all day. And when I discovered what he was doing, because he was only 2 years older than me, it really made me mad. Because I wanted to watch James Bond, but no, I wasn't allowed James Bond. And I remember going to school, and my friends, who, by the way, were Mormon, they would talk about programs like Mork and Mindy. I did not know what the heck Mork and Mindy was. As a matter of fact, I just barely watched Mork and Mindy for the first time in my life, like within the past few years, because I didn't know what that was, and I finally discovered it. And I think you do your kids a disservice if you don't allow them to advance technologically with society. Because now, I'm not saying don't be a good parent and don't have restrictions, because I think there's a lot of stuff on TV that your kids don't need to see. They don't need to see like murder things all the time. like me when I allowed my kids to watch CSI every night. Huh. But what I think that if you are a religious zealot and you restrict your children technologically, they will find ways to go behind your back, and they will secretly watch TV or secretly do whatever it is that you restrict them from and make the forbidden fruit. So my advice, especially as a parent now that's raised 8 kids, is you got to find that balance. You know, a balance. If you're extreme, and I've been extreme sometimes, if you're really far right and extreme and far right religiously, I'm sorry, but some of those ideas are lunacy. And you got to find a balance so that your children aren't, I would say, aren't a little backwards if they're in public school, because you don't want your kids to be technologically behind. They need to advance with society, you know, just like everyone else. But anyway, that's my little story as a Mormon child being raised with no TV, and how eventually we could watch TV whenever we wanted, however long we wanted. And my mother was so addicted to Jeopardy that at 5 o'clock on the dot, she had to sit down and watch Jeopardy for 20 years or however long my mom loved to watch Jeopardy. But yeah, I just think extremism is a bad thing, and you got to find that balance. And I have seen, even in my extended family, some of my family members being extreme, where they've restricted their kids, and what I think is you will set yourself up to fail every time if you don't find a healthy balance. So today, that's my message. Find a healthy balance in life. And I'm talking to myself, because I am an extremist, because I was raised extreme. How could I not be an extremist? And I've had to find balance in my life. And I still have to pay attention to it, because it's easy to be extreme. And it's easy to be an extremist when you've been an extremist for most of your life and raised in probably an extreme religion. So find that balance. Find that healthy balance so that you can have peace and everyone else around you can have peace. All right. That's my little antidote, my little Mormon antidote for today. All right. Have a great day.